Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. So, I always push it to that last minute. And I was trying to get a picture to download so that I could show it to you. So, happy Tuesday. Got my coffee and we are ready to go today. So, hello, Sandra. Good to see you. And everybody, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already. And I had sent out a post earlier, asking what do you want to see for lives and what do you want to see for classes. So that way I can be adding some of those things. So, hey, Amy and Karen, it's so good to see everybody tonight. Well, it's Taco Tuesday, but it's also Fat Tuesday. So let's talk. I've got my jacket on and ready to roll, and so glad to be here. And, I'm sporting the New Orleans tonight. And one of the patches that I made is going to represent that. So tell me how many of you make patches, because I was talking to a friend earlier today and she shocked me by saying she had never made a patch. So how many of you have never made a patch? You can say yes or no. Yes, I've made a patch. No, I've not made a patch, because I was kind of surprised by it. So Sandra says, let's see the back. Okay, the front, let me just say this is printable vinyl. And then, of course, I have some beads. I've got some good chunky bling heading from it. And then the back is the large piece is sublimation, and then I have applique, and then I have a fleur-de-lis on there. So the fleur-de-lis is over on, I'm trying to see, I think it's on this side, but that way you can see what I'm doing. And one of the things Jill said was a denim jacket retreat. So that is something that I am going to be doing at Beehive in Wellington. And if you've never been to their store, it is absolutely amazing. And the retreat house is so much fun. So for those of you in that area, come join. And I have some people from this area that's flying down. So it's going to be a great time. So let's talk about patches. So some of you have a function in your machine, and hopefully I can, maybe I'll remember to move that in a moment. So some of you may have seen something like this on your machine. So let's see. I'm going to say add this one. Nope, not that one. I was hoping for a different one. Let's see. That one is 51. Here, this button right here. So this button right here can make any of your designs a patch. So you can see that I had this one. And so it was Mickey Mouse, and I just added that border, and you can change the distance. And that's built in on a lot of our machines. So it would be this feature right here. Touch that. And then you would see this come up, and you can change the distance. So those are two things that you could do just easy peasy to make a patch. And I am trying to, I've got way too many things going on today. So let's see if what I got going. So that would look like this. So that was the patch that you saw me just showing you on the screen. This was built-in design on my embroidery machine, and I just added an offset kind of border, and it just does that, and you can tell it how close or how far. So that, and I have hooped 2 pieces of water soluble. So some of you may have never seen this hoop, so I thought this is a favorite hoop to use because it really does grab that stabilizer. So this is a border hoop, and it just pops open, and that way you can slide in, and you can tell like it sticks to the little fuzzy parts back here. So I love using that for a water soluble, and it's a hoop that you may not have seen. What I love about it, you can stitch and then just slide your material, keep stitching and slide. Some of you may have seen me do a live where I actually embroider the bottom of my skirt while I'm standing at the machine. So I was moving my skirt all around. So you can see 2 pieces of water soluble. And like I said, it was a built-in design. And then I just added that offset, which makes it like an applique border. And now I'm just going to cut close to and throw that. Maybe it might have hit. So, and one thing that I'm going to keep saying, I do like changing my bobbin when I'm making a patch, when I do that final stitch. And I'm just cutting some of these little threads from the back side of it because where it's tied off, you can kind of see. But I like to have my bobbin thread the same as my top thread. So that black is that top thread. The reason is when you sew this on, sometimes you see that side edge, and I like it to match the top. Does that make sense? That's the only reason, is because when I sew it, or even when I iron them on, I don't like it having that two-tone of a white bobbin showing on the back. So that's the only reason why I recommend your top and your bottom just on that final stitch. So I have a bowl of kind of warm water over here beside me. So I threw that on. And yes, June, I was wearing the skirt. It was a very long skirt, and I had my embroidery machine, and I hooped and went around and sewed on the bottom of it. And it was kind of fun. So hopefully, and we're going to see, because I hit something a minute ago, I'm going to try to pull up a video, and we're going to talk about how I designed it. And I'm going to talk about, so that hoop I just went blank. I said it a minute ago. I'll come back to that, Wilma, and answer that question. Sorry. I forgot the name of it. And Sherry, thanks for joining us tonight. And thanks, Reen, for the shout out. And Tammy, it's so good to see you. Hope you're feeling better. And if anybody else can remember the name of my hoop, you can let them know what this hoop is called, since I have gone blank on it. Let's talk about materials. So right now I'm using, this is a product from Dime OESD, and it's patch material. And you can buy patch material, even just buying the small patches like you would use to hem up your, to patch up your clothes. You can stitch on those too. So this is a little bit border hoop. Thank you, June. This is a little bit firmer, and I love stitching with this. And it does have a little firmness. I'm going to step out of view because I can't reach it. This is some duck cloth canvas, and you can see maybe it has some little, texture to it, and it's got a little weight. So that way it's just another fabric to use. I've used denim. I've used HTV pressed onto a cotton. So lots of things that you can use for your background. If you're going to use something like a quilter's cotton, you're really going to have something to reinforce it, like several pieces of that thick cutaway to give it some substance. Otherwise, it's going to be floppy. So you want something with a little bit of weight to it when you're stitching for those. So I have, used tons of this. I also have marine vinyl, or like an upholstery vinyl that I've used. There's one that I loved at, God rest in peace, Joann's, that was chalkboard. And I love using it because it's stitched so beautifully. And I did find some at a small quilt shop in Clark Range recently that is that it's a black vinyl, but it's thinner and it's chalkboard. So more than one use. So this one has dissolved, and I'm going to do a different view of it. You can see this is dripping, even though I have, look, I had a towel kind of handy, kind of, and I'll change views, but that way you can see how that one turned out. So these patches right this moment, Donna, would be ready to sew on, but we're going to get to that. Keep watching. We're going to get to it. So I'm going to throw a video up here, and we're going to cross our fingers that it's the right one. And
I am in my software,
it is,
and I
maybe.
thought show you how easy it is to create a patch. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up to my applique shapes and select that. And let's see, let's go to holidays and party and miscellaneous. So it is Fat Tuesday, so I'm going to go with the fleur-de-lis and select that. Right now, this is set up as an applique, but I'm going to stitch it just as a fill stitch. So I'm going to select, and I'm going to just tell that to fill, and select and fill, select and fill, and fill. That way I just have that as a fill stitch, and I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to group that together. And that way this will just be a simple embroidery file. And I'm going to shrink that because I don't want my patch to be. So let's shrink it a little. And now that I have what I'm going to stitch, I need a part to be the actual patch. So I'm going to go back up to my shapes, and I'm going to go to shapes, and let's just keep it simple. I'm going to go to a circle. Well, I don't need that big of a circle, so I'm going to make that smaller. And I could do it maybe just a smidge smaller. And I'm going to select everything, and I am going to horizontal and vertical center that. So now that would be just a easy peasy patch. But one thing that I'm going to change, so I have it selected, and over on the inset, I'm going to make a change to that. So I want you to pay attention to the position of this outer line, and I'm going to inset that 80 and say apply. And you just saw that it seems like it kind of shrunk. What it did just then, it's going to stitch more on my fabric than it is on my stabilizer. And we'll talk about that as we go to stitch that. So let me say File and Save As. And I'm going to save this, and then I'll start stitching, and you can see the next step.
So hopefully you could see how easy it was to set that up. And somebody asked what software I'm using. I'm using PEP. I use different elements. I have my patch maker and I have cut and stitch. So different elements, but you can do kind of both of those with your cut and stitch. So I created that and I left it in the hoop, and that way you could see. And so this was a black fabric, and there was that black patch fabric, and then it has just that nice black edge just to kind of blend in, because on my other patch, I really, with that hot pink background, that black edge really kind of pops. And this one, wherever I put my, I lose my scissors all the time. So this one, I did just a black outline, and I used, again, I have that black bobbin so that it really blends nicely. So I'm throwing that one in the water. And it was, so someone had asked while that one kind of is doing, they asked me they had sent me an email and was asking about patches. And that's one of the reasons why I did this. And I had said last week that I was going to do some elements and we would build kind of a denim jacket. So you can see I have a denim jacket and we're going to keep making patches and then I'm going to put them on a jacket. But each week I'm going to do a different technique and then I'm going to apply it to a denim jacket. And then later I'll kind of have a reveal of that jacket. So thank you, Tammy, because Tammy is an educator and she is all about the software. And I appreciate her chiming in and helping me out while I'm doing this. So that one has dissolved. And again, I will change views and let you see this a little bit better. But that way you can see, isn't that gorgeous? And this is Dime. This is Kingstar Thread metallic. And you can really hopefully see that shimmer and shine. And I'll change views and let you see overhead view afterwards. And then I will going to show you something else. So this material, it is a OESD Dime product and it is twill, and it's just a twill that you can stitch on. So let's play one more video and then I'll show you one other technique.
Okay, so we're going to do the same.
Seems like there's not a volume there, so let's see what's going on. Well, you know, technology sometimes. So Poly Patch Twill, thank you. So what I am doing, let's see, I'm going to try to remove it and bring that back in and see if that helps. Nope. So I had gone into the software and I just added a different shape to that design. And then I changed the edging to be a patch. So not sure why my volume suddenly isn't working, but you know, it happens sometimes. So I created, and if you've ever wondered why you use these tiny little hoops, this is a perfect reason why you could use those tiny little hoops, because I don't need a ton of stabilizer for this. So I'm using a small hoop. And if you're like me, I save all those pieces and then I can use them in a smaller hoop. So this was originally a piece of another project. I saved it and then fit it in here. So since we are at this stage, let me change my view here. And I'm going to delete some things. So that way it doesn't accidentally show up there. So let's change camera views and see. Okay. So now you can kind of see, and I can let you can see that edge, how it's a little bit different. Here is my pink. And again, that was a built-in design. This was one that you saw me create. This is the one that I was creating, but the volume wasn't there. So it was that same fleur-de-lis as earlier. I just changed the colors and I changed the design around it. And I left in here so that you could see small piece of material, and I just added a basting stitch to that. And basting stitches, some of you know I use them all the time because I just absolutely love how it holds something down for me. And now I'm just going to cut around that fabric. And so it's just like doing an applique. That's all patches really are. It's appliques on a different material. So that really is all that it's going to do. It's just an applique. So let me cut that basting stitch out of my way. I'm going to cut it on the back side also. There we go. And I even have several scissors out so that you can see. So these are a double curved scissor, and see how well it fits in so that I can cut this. If I was trying to use these, it's difficult to get that in to do an angle and a tight spot. So I love a double curve just to be able to fit into my hoop. And then I can go around and get right up next to that tack down placement stitch right there. And then I am going to let it stitch my edge. Just trying to get my edges cleaned up as much as I can. There. And I'm going to put this on, and then I'll let it do a finishing satin stitch, but it's actually not going to be a satin. I'm going to show you. So let me put this on. And of course, what did I just do? So it's going to be one of those tonight. Let me come back over here. So when I went to take a picture to show you what the buttons look like, I deleted my design. So I'm going to load it up. Tammy's answering questions like crazy, which I love. And let's see if I can get that design pulled back up again and added to it. So let's, of course, I changed the size, and you know I won't remember what the size was. But we're going to try our best here. We are. Let's see if this matches up. We're going to cross our fingers that I somewhat can save this. It's looking like it. Okay, we did it. We did it, everybody. So that was, now let me do that finishing stitch. Let it get on here, and then I'm going to answer some other questions while I go to let that stitch. Okay. Goodness, thank you. So that way, we had several questions about applying it to the backing. So everybody has probably heard of E6000 or B7000, but another one that I really like is called Liquid Stitch, and it's iron-on instant bond. No dry time, quickly finish, no sew, and it says patches, hems, and it's machine washable. So this one, you can bond it, and it's not as, first, it doesn't smell like E6000 does, because I feel like it kind of has an E6000 smell. I don't know how else to say, but it goes on very thin. It's very easy to apply. So that is Liquid Stitches. So that's one way that you could put that on. Another way is most of us have Steam-A-Seam. So I have used Steam-A-Seam to adhere the patch, and then I go back over it and sew it down. But that way, for me, it's kind of difficult to pin patches and then try to go around them and not poke myself with a needle. So I do love adhering them, letting them, attach, and then going back and going right inside of it to attack that down. So that's another one. Another item is Caesar has a vinyl. It is opaque looking. It looks like this. And it is called Easy Weed Adhesive. A lot of times you've seen me talk about it, and I use it with foil because it has just such a beautiful edge to it. Okay, so that got finished. And so this is another project, and you would cut it the size of yours. You press it on, and then you take the backing off, and then it's adhesive, and then you can apply it to whatever you're applying it to. And it does work great for a long time. I still, if it's going to be a patch that's going to be in a place that has a lot of wear and tear, I like to add a couple stitches to it just to tack it down. Even if it's like one at the 12, the 6, the 3, and the 9, those places right there, just to get it to tack down so that it doesn't come loose. One of my jackets, I had a patch, I guess it was here, and putting the seatbelt on and off, it started pulling it. And I had another one that was a smiley face on like the back, and getting in and out of the car, it started to pull. And so I tacked it down. So this is another thing. And then we have from Dime OESD, they have a patch adhesive also. And it works, you know, apply it to there. It's got a good strong hold to it. So all of those are things that you may have. You know, I'm holding them all. That you may have already in your arsenal, and you don't, you know, I'm never going to tell you you have to go out and buy something new if you have these things. If you have E6000, I'm not saying not to use it. I'm just saying that I really did like this product. So now that I have talked about these things, I'm going to move them out of the way. And my cute little patch has gotten finished. And I'm going to hope that you can see the detail in this little patch. So let me change again camera views. I got all tore up when I had deleted that file. So let's see here. Let's change camera views. And there. So I'm trying to move this so that you can see. So this is a marrow edge right there. And I love that it just gives it some detail instead of just like a satin stitch. But that way, that gives it, this is a satin, and you can see the edge is different and how pretty it looks on the back. Of course, I need to clean up, but you can see it just looks good having that bobbin stitch match. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pop this one out. Let's loosen it up a little. And you can tell where my fingers were wet. So how many of you ever use this tiny little hoop? I just use it for baby patches typically. And go around. And you can see I just have, I'll show you. I just have, let me clean up those stitches on the back before I throw it in there. Clean those up a smidge. And that was the first reason I used it, Carolyn. It was because of the socks. That was why I liked that hoop, is because you could put a little pair of socks. But then after having a multi-needle, I never used it. So that way you can see there is my tiny, and it almost looks like a little guitar pick, the size does. And I have a little black thread that's somehow got running through there, but I'm trying to fix it. There. So you can see we have patches, and more patches. So now what am I going to tell you to do? I'm going to tell you to make one and post it because I want to see your version of a patch. And I hope that you really could see, it's really easy to do that. It's just an applique, and you're just doing it on a water-soluble stabilizer. So that way that kind of takes the mystery out of it. It's because it's an applique on water-soluble. So I always do 2 hoopings or 2 pieces of it. And one of the things, that I always say, drum tight, you want it to be in there firm, but you don't want it to have wiggle room. Let me see. I'm going to show you what I mean. So this is just some that I had cut from another project. Here's my cute little baby hoop. I have 2 pieces here. And I'm going to show you not the right way and then the right way. That way you can see the differences. And so here you can see it has some play, and it doesn't make that same sound as to when you get it tight. And I'm going to tighten it up. And I'm going here, maybe you can hear it. You can really hear, and you can feel that tightness. So that way it's really tight. Your design isn't going to pull. It's going to stay straight. And crisscross my water soluble. Yeah, I usually do have it crisscrossed or cross-grained, and I'll save this piece for later. I'll save this one in the hoop because I'm going to stitch another design later this evening. Because I really do like that one, and I'm now excited to add it to my jacket since I made those patches. So I have a cute fleur-de-lis here, and then I have that other one, and I'm going to add them both because I like them both. And you could see, so I was talking about scissors. So these are some curved Kai scissors, and see how this goes up with the curve. I love these. I use them in a lot of my classes, and I tell people all the time, I want you to sign a waiver because they are extremely, extremely sharp, and they will draw blood. But I love these Kai. So if you come across these, get them. If your local shop has them, and if they don't, ask them to get them or order them. And then I have some. These are thicker. Curved. They're not near as sharp. And I like these for cutting that kind of tough. They're hardy scissors. Like that twill is kind of thick. And these are, again, my double-sided curves. Here's my other Kai. So you can see the difference. How one is curved and one's flat. And I use both of them a lot. So that way you can kind of see what scissors I used. Again, I use that twill patch. You can use, tons of things as your background. Play around with it and see what you like. So it's Tuesday. So what does that mean? It means it's Taco Tuesday in the house tonight. And I'm meeting some friends. We do have a king cake, so that will be later. And I hope that y'all all have a very safe night if you're out celebrating, because I know some of my friends are in New Orleans. And Kai does make a left-handed, Dorothy, and I actually can use their right-handed ones either way. And so I like their scissors to where some of them I can't. Theirs is kind of nice, but try them out. So everybody, have a great night, and I will see you again next Tuesday. And I can't wait to see the patches that you make. And if you have any questions, you know that you can ask, and I'll be around to answer them. Have a great night, everybody.